Hey everybody, my name is Samuel Leggett. We're here for the Light Film Festival.
LightReel, sir.
LightReel Film Festival is right there. I'm joking. Tim, so congratulations. Another year for this festival. Tim is dedicated to film, but he's not just dedicated to film, he's dedicated to people. One of the things I know, he has a good rapport with everybody around him, but he's also very eccentric. He is a life of the party, always. So it's my honor to have this conversation with you.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want you to kind of break down how you started this film festival specifically, and then also what is it about film in general that kind of caught your eye to go this route for you, before we even kind of break down where we're at today.
How I started this film festival, I was telling this story this morning that my career is now, I'm 32 years into professionally being a film critic. I initially tried to start a film festival. I think it was called the Washington, it was WAFF, so it was the Washington African American, no, it's WAAF. It was the Washington African American Film Festival back in 1994. We went as far as having a graphic designer create a logo. I had a team of people, but I had no idea. And film festivals really weren't a thing like 30 years ago, right? So when that one went away, I was like, I'll be content to just like, have a film career. This was pre-LightReel Awards, so I had no idea an award show idea would come along. I was just happy to be a film critic and try to build a name and reputation as a critic and as a writer. And, I told the story to you guys earlier about Diane Houston and Freedom Hair and how that inspired the LightReel Awards, because I thought that the Oscars and the Golden Globes were never going to give Black artists or Black creatives the sort of credit that they deserved, and somebody needed to come along with the show. And when I looked in the mirror and decided I had to be that somebody, I was very fearless and naive when I was young, but naive in a good way, because naive that nobody told me I couldn't do something, so I just figured I could just do whatever I wanted to do, which is why we have an award show, which is why we have film festivals and all these other crazy ideas I come up with, because they're people who love me and who support me and allow me the space to create and come up and be me, right? Yeah. But to answer your question, the film festival came along. I would call it accident, but I'm a man of faith, so I think it's God inspired. I was at my church, Celebration Church, and I belonged to a group of men called the Men of Valor, right? And the Men of Valor had a ministry where we would come up and create different activities to raise scholarship money to give away to students every year, right? And I remember sitting in a meeting one time with these guys, and I was frustrated because they kept coming up with ideas, and I was like, man, I could just create a film thing and we can raise some money, right? And they was like, man, go ahead on and do that. So I said, okay. So I go to church this particular Sunday, and there was a guy by the name, I don't know what his real name is, but we call him Coach. And Coach gave me the phone number to Wild Lake High. They had a 600 seat auditorium. So I was like, yeah, we can throw an event at Wild Lake. And I promise you, this is a true story. I wake up the next day, I was sitting at my dinner table, I had a robe on, my laptop in front of me, and I went to pick up the phone to call Wild Lake, and I heard a voice say, call the tourism office in Howard County. I'm like, okay. So I called the Howard County tourism office, and I got this woman on the phone who was the director. And I had nothing in front of me. I was like, hey, I got this idea for this film festival, and I was just thinking about stuff I'd seen at other film festivals. I said, we can show some independent films, we probably have some panels, there'd be some parties. So she didn't know who I was. So she said, what's your name? I said, I'm Tim Gordon. She said, let me call you back in 10 minutes. So what I didn't know is she hung up the phone, she went and Googled me, and then she called me right back. She said, we should talk. I said, yeah, cool. So that was a Monday, right? She said, let's have a meeting on Friday. So I went to a buddy of mine's house who was actually here, Dean Sterling, was here yesterday at the festival. And I went to Dean's house because he was like my mentor. I said, Dean, I don't know what I'm gonna say. I'm like, what am I supposed to say? I had nothing written down. And he said, let's just go in here and hear what they got to say. So I did the same thing. I showed up to the meeting. They had some guy who had put on a festival in Columbia at the time, and he was in there telling us, "Oh man, it didn't work. We had $100,000. We couldn't make it work." I was like, I just see film differently. So she said, if you can get me a schedule by Monday, I will, we'll back you guys. So I came down and we had a screening of a Christopher Nolan movie. I can't remember what it was. It was a big Christopher Nolan movie at the old Galleria, Mazda Galleria, right? And I sat there, I got there 3 hours before the movie, and I sat in my car with my phone, and I just started praying and meditating, and all this stuff came to me. I just kept writing it down in my notes, right? So then I give her the lineup, so I go home, and again, none of this is made up, it's true. I was like, God, show me day one of the festival. And I went in my bedroom and I laid down, and when I closed my eyes, it came like a movie. And I woke up and I would write it down. And I said, all right, show me day two. I did it again. So the whole 4 days of the festival came about like that. So I kept writing all the stuff down. So the first year when I did it, we tried to do it. We had a bad team around us, right? And one of my, you were on the board then when this happened, right? Were you on the board? Okay. No, I'm talking about when we had the implosion of the board. Were you there that year?
I believe so.
Yeah, okay. So I'm glad you're here. All right, so this is witness right here. So, okay, so I had a board, and the first year we had a team of people long before the amazing Heather Turner showed up, right? Oh. And these guys were not beholden to me. We had a festival program person who had hired all these people. I signed the contract stupidly, which I shouldn't have done, without board approval, and pulled the plug on the festival like a month before because I was like, this is not happening. We weren't selling tickets. It wasn't coming together the way I kind of saw it or envisioned it, right? So that group went away. God blessed me with the new group, right? Really good people. Heather brought all these people in. So we do the festival. As soon as we finished the festival, that Sunday, I think it was, that Monday, we got hit with 3 lawsuits. Board imploded. I called you up. I was like, you need to step down. Rest of the board members. So I never got a chance to enjoy the first film festival because we were in court. We were like, yeah, Your Honor, yeah. I did it, Your Honor. But, so I say all that to say, I say all that to say that 5 years later, everybody on the team is like, Tim, why are you so relaxed? I'm like, man, I'm enjoying this. I'm having fun because we put in a lot of work. A lot of work. And that brother that's sitting in the back that's going to come up here and moderate in a second will tell you as a festival director how hard it is. It looks beautiful at the end, like when you guys are sitting here. But man, the nights of trying to design this stuff, being on the phone with filmmakers, being on the phone with studios who you're trying to get films from. We literally just had a conversation this morning about how a studio will give you a film, but won't give you the assets, right? So if you were here for Dandelion, we've been promoting Dandelion for 2 months. They never gave us a trailer. They never gave us a film poster. They was like, hey man, you got 6 images, man, do your best. So my point to you is that there's a lot. I mean, I know we have to get off here in 20 minutes, but I guess, I'm not sure if I totally answered the second part of your question of the why, but yeah, man, I just got so much on the inside. And I was just telling TT, I was like, we gotta do a panel one day with film festival directors, because y'all gotta know what this thing really is. Because it's like, Tim, like you told me earlier, like I'm the life of party, I'm 100% raw and authentic, man. Why would I hide stuff from you at my festival? Like I might hide it at TT's festival, that would be nice, man. Here in Cincinnati, it was chilling like this. But in DC, oh no, it's 100% raw. It's hard work, man, but I love it. It's my passion. And when you said earlier about people being my passion, young people have always been my passion, and specifically young Black people, right? Because, and I have no shade to my light-skinned, non-African-American brothers that are critics, But I always try to cultivate, and Sam, would you agree that I try to cultivate all the brothers and sisters that come through that in Wax?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, that's my role, man. I gotta pass it down. You guys gotta know that, you guys are living in a great area, because when I first started, it ain't sunshine like it is for you guys now.
Yeah, I think
It was hard.
I think that's part of the reason why I wanted to ask you the question, because,
Yes, sir.
listening to that, there's a huge faith exercise to that, because that's a testimony, what it sounds like to me.
Absolutely.
And the thing about it is, in order for something to truly be stable, it can't be built on sand. It's got to have roots, it's got to have a foundation. So even though your first time seemingly was a lot, it started something and it sowed something. And so the seed is just continuously growing, which is amazing to hear. So I think one of the biggest things that you always do, you're a storyteller. You guys are, like, he can sell a story really well, but that's just how he talks, that's who he is. But one of the things you always do, you kind of keep it really authentic. Like, this is what I experienced, this is what I've seen. And coming from the media background myself, like, it's never an easy road, ever. Like, it's always, you're having to work 3 extra steps and get into this extra door, and then hoping and praying that you're gonna go somewhere else. So every time you kind of say or speak about things like in the past, I'm like, man, I got a little bit better right now. So this is, maybe if I keep pushing, then I can strive to another level. So hearing that, I wanted to make sure we had this recorded so that people know the testimony behind it. So I appreciate you for saying it, because that's what it really comes out from, a foundation of faith. And it's not just luck, like, it's what it was supposed to be. There are things that you're doing now, in my opinion, that I think are setting people out there in a good path. So we appreciate you for that.
Well, brother, thank you, man. I was gonna add one more thing, man. And I know I've told you this story, and I've had critics in groups, and I'll tell them this. When I say you guys got it really good now, with, when we talk about the allies and PR collaboratives, when I first started in the game in '92, I never forget it, there were 2 companies that were in Washington, D.C. And what we're talking about now is, as a film critic, when you become accredited, they put you on the press list, and they'll send out, like, when there's screenings coming out, you'll be notified. So when you're really accredited, and TT, it's 4 of us in the room, right? When you're really accredited, you get invited to everything, right? And then there's certain people, they may put you on some lists, you'll get, like, certain movies, but not all, right? When I first started, it was Abramson, Ehrlich, Means, and the Ernie Johnson Company, or Ernie Johnson PR, right? Mm-hmm. And it was split 50-50, right? So one studio had half, the other one, they had the other half, right? And we both, you guys don't know, but we know that each one of these agencies are run by a person who has a staff of people underneath them. So, like, Shannon Moore, who will be here tonight, runs Allied, and then Renee Sal, who runs PR Collaborative, both of them good friends of mine, right? Good friends of mine now because I predate both of them, right? So I've been around longer than you. They came after me, so I'm like, they have a different relationship with me than they have with these two, right? So when I first started in the game, the 2 people who were at the top of the food chain, it was a young woman by the name of Beth Berman that was at Abramson, Ehrlich, Means, and I want to say this predates Tom Thor, this predates, might have been Ernie Johnson, might have been the head of Ernie Johnson at the time, right? And it wasn't nice and sunny. Like, how y'all have a relationship now, y'all can pick up the phone and call and be like, hey, Shannon, what's up? That didn't exist when I started. They were mean. If you weren't from an outlet like this, there was no internet, there was no podcast, there was no influencers. You either had to work for a major news organization, like, at the time when I got in the game, I think I might have been, I was before, maybe it was Radio 1, so maybe I was Radio 1 doing something. But they were mean, bro. And you would show up at screenings, and if they weren't feeling, they'd turn you away. It wasn't like, get on, you gotta go home. So I'm Tim Gordon, I'm cocky, right? If you think I'm cocky now, you should have known me 30 years ago, right? So I remember I wanted something, like I wanted them to give me access to give away passes or something back in the day, and they told me no. And back in the day, like now, they'll send you an email and, like, hey, you come to the movies. But back in the day, they would mail you a letter, right? And they would put them on different colored pieces of paper so you couldn't duplicate them. So you get a green letter or a red letter or whatever color they wanted to use, right? And me, I got on the radio one day and gave my pass away to a winner. Like, so hey, take my pass and go to the movies. And of course, this person showed up. So I was quote unquote banned for 4 years, right? Where they wouldn't let me in screenings, but by virtue of sheer will of my personality, the late Joe Barber would let me know every screening. I showed up. So in that 4 years when I was banned, I got turned away for one movie. It was a Disney movie. The late great Tom Thor, a good friend of mine, turned me away, right? But as I would say, from a faith standpoint, I lived long enough to not just get back on the list, but to become the president. Nell Minow walked up to me at a screening in 2002 and was like, I think we should have a Film Critic Association, and you seem to be the most popular person here, you should be the president. So that's how I became the president of the Film Critic Association. We started that October, we gave away awards, we had no rules and regulations. It was a disaster. We had three-way ties. Allied went ballistic, right? So I get called into a meeting. Me and Nell go in there and they chewed me out for like 45 minutes. So I walk out the meeting, I look at Nell and I go, if I'm gonna take this kind of abuse, I'm gonna go home and take charge of this. So I wrote the entire rules and regulations, which y'all use to this day, were written in 2003 by me. And we created this Film Critic Association, right? 2 years after, so we had started the LightReel Awards in 2000. We took WAFCA in 2002, 2003. We were doing the LightReel Awards, which I created in 2000 for a couple of years, and it dawned on me one day, I woke up, I was like, we're doing these awards, but you know, I did the research, the Oscars and the Golden Globes are about foundations, right? So they need foundations. I said, we need a foundation, so we created FAF, right? To have programs to support the LightReel Award. 10 years after that, I joined the Critics' Choice Association. Me and Travis Hobson joined the same time. We were Black member 11 and 12 in a 225 member organization in 2013. God bless me, the spinoff, Cordell Martin was here. I don't know if any of you guys met him. Cordell Martin and I have worked together since like 05, 06. He came to me one day and was like, I think the time has come, we should do a television award. I'm like, you think we have enough television films to support it? And this is in 2017. So I'm like, 5 minutes, cool. And I go, okay, let's do it. We just finished the voting for the 8th annual LightReel Television Award. So the whole journey, as I'm telling you, Sam, has been a faith walk. It has been me being, as I said, naive, fearless, whatever I come up with. We came up with an idea that we haven't introduced yet, but will, which will be the African-American version of the Governor's Awards. The Oscars have, we call ours the Pantheon. So we're working on trying to develop that as the next new project that we're doing. So I continue to try to tell you, when I was teasing you earlier about you should look at me as aspirational, I want you guys to always, I'm looking at both of y'all, that I want you to take the game that you're in, which is being a film critic, and then, much like either myself, Sean Edwards, who you see in Kansas City, take the game for what it is and then use it for what you want to do with it and stay in the game. But just remember, and I don't say this with any disrespect because he's one of my dearest friends, don't be Arch Campbell. Don't be the 76-year-old dude that all I ever did was review movies. Find you a path and figure out what you want to do in the game and then get into that. Don't just do this. This has a shelf life, man. You'll be like me, like Nas wrote a song called 27 Summers. I done done 32 summers, man. I'm bored with the game. I tell them all the time, I'm like, man, hey, okay, January, gonna do this, and then Tempos come out in May, and then TIFF comes, and then we got a war. Dude, you're gonna get tired of this at some point. I give you 5, 10 more years, you're gonna be like, Tim is right, this is boring. Find your path and develop that, but use the game for what the game is.
That was amazing, Tim. I appreciate you for all that. I thank you for all you've been doing since the moment I met you. I think one of the things, when you're walking in uncomfortability and you still keep moving forward, I think that's the biggest thing. That is faith, ultimately. Because you gotta walk in your if you were comfortable in just moving, you're gonna be stagnant. There's not gonna be any progression. But when you're in uncomfortability and you're walking on this pothole, this fire, through this, and at the same time imploring people like, no, like, smile. Use joy. Like, there has been times we have been in different interviews and sessions, and this an hour waiting. Like, they've already lapsed their time. Tim's in there just laughing and joking. I'm like, he's not bothered by this at all. But at the same time, he understands when he's on the camera, when it's time, whatever he needs to do, and it's his purpose, he's gonna come correct. And I think that is Tim Gordon in a nutshell.
I'm laughing because, Sam, you've been on Junkets with me, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And one of the things that always makes me laugh, TT, I'll tell you the story. I'll see these young journalists, and they'll be in the hallway with a cue card. I know. They'll be in there with a cue card, and they'll be writing all these questions, and I'm like, why you writing questions, man? You're only gonna be in there for 4 minutes, man. Just have the conversation. Just go in there, have a question. Now, doesn't work all the time, because you were with me when we were out at, what was it, Rebel Moon? When they put me in a room with these actors, I had nothing. I was like, it was one of the worst interviews. I was like, hey, I know you can't talk. Remember this? I know you can't talk about you in part 2. So what's going on? Because I did that on purpose. I had nothing. I was just spitballing. But for the most part, as Dave Chappelle says all the time, I'm good in the room. It'll work out. It'll work out. But yeah, man, I appreciate you guys, though, man. But seriously, I look at you guys, and I see people like Wilson Morales, I see Sean Edwards, I see TTTT, who I will just say is a guy I respect tremendously. And the thing I like about him is much like Heather Turner, who God blessed me at 55 to find that woman who saved my life. Whenever I'm with this guy, he and I just balance each other out perfectly. And the other thing that I love about him is that as the artistic director of Over the Rhyme, he literally knows exactly, he can feel, when people say, I can feel your pain, he knows when I call him up some days, I'm like, TT, they killing me today, man. I had to go through this and that, and he'll listen to me, and then he'll tell me his, and I'll be like, yeah, it's rough, bro. It's a rough path to walk, but I encourage you, I seriously do, and you don't have to do a film festival. I tease Travis a lot. Travis does wrestling. I'm like, hey, you should do some wrestling, man. You gotta find you a path, because you don't want to sit in this seat, man, and let this opportunity go by where you have this level of visibility, you have this level of influence, this access. Take that access and make it mean something, man. And then Cordell Martin just walked in the room, another extraordinary individual. So Heather gave me the wrap it up signal.
Yep,
Sam, brother, I love you. I appreciate you. Sam taught me TikTok. This was so funny. We were in LA over the winter, and I was trying to do my thing, and I remember you and I were, it was Color Purple, right? We were in the Color Purple, and I'm all enthusiastic because we're like the first people to see it, right? And I'm shooting this video, and Sam was like, no, man, you're doing too many of them, man. You can't post, you gotta let it breathe. I was like, what? It's not like Facebook, I can't put up 4 posts at the same time. He said, no, it's not gonna work. So he was right. Sam educated me, so now we have a growing TikTok presence, and it's because of this brother. And you told me Wilson is who I should talk to for what? Facebook? Instagram?
He's a master.
So yeah. So you want to learn something, you better find you a young samurai, and then you go. That's your man. And then there's another young samurai back there who all this design work we're doing. That dude laid the foundation, Cordell Martin. So now my thing for Cordell is that I always tell him I want to wow him. So the other day, have you guys seen the festival book?
Yeah.
Okay, if you get an opportunity to go outside and scan, the festival book is there. So Cordell Martin, I showed it to him, and I swear, best moment of my life. How'd you do that? I was like, I got him. I'm fine. I did something. So Cordell and I are talking, and Black Reel Awards, we haven't picked a date for the 25th annual yet, right?
Not yet.
So when we pick the date, we're gonna work on a program book based on what we did for the LightReel Film Festival program book that's gonna be dynamic. Because we got months. I did that program book, the one you guys are looking at, I did that program book in 24 hours. So now you give us 5 months. We don't need money. But thank you, brother.
No, thank you. If Cornell needs some help, we got a graphic designer right here, just graduated.
To God be the glory.
Segue, I'm gonna come up, man.
All right, man. Thank you.